Let's talk Merrimack. I'm your host for today, Jen McInnes. A little bit about me. I've been a resident of Merrimack for about 16 years now, and these days soccer takes up most of my spare time between coaching for my 13-year-old and getting to travel games for my younger son. The goal of this show is to talk about things that concern Merrimack residents and to encourage you to get involved in the town. Today's show focuses on the ongoing congressional campaign. So today I'm joined by Maura Sullivan, one of the candidates for the CD1 seat that Chris Pappas is vacating next term. Welcome, Maura, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jen. I've been really looking forward to coming, so appreciate you having me here.
Let's jump right in.
All right.
I want to start by acknowledging your service in the Marines and ask what drove you to serve and what has inspired you to step forward and run for Congress?
Yeah, well, again, it's wonderful to be here. I'm also very busy with soccer these days on the Seacoast with my 4-year-old and 3-year-old. So thanks for making the time to host me here in Merrimack. I come from a family committed to service. I was a middle-class kid, oldest of 4 children, and my grandfathers both served in World War II. My grandmothers were both leaders in Jesuit education. And so along with my siblings, my parents really raised us in those Jesuit values of being men and women for others. Went to a great public high school. Would never have worked for Barack Obama or be a candidate for Congress without that great quality public high school education that every kid in New Hampshire deserves. When it came time to go to college, I couldn't afford to go to a lot of the schools I was looking at. An ROTC scholarship made a higher education possibility for me. I got a scholarship to go to Northwestern University, and then I worked 3 jobs, including waiting tables, to pay for the part of my education that my scholarship didn't cover. And from there, I joined the Marines. I was commissioned an officer in the Marines in 2001 and checked into basic training. And then 2 months later, the world as we know it changed forever on September 11th of 2001. I then voluntarily extended a few years later in order to go to Iraq with my battalion. I chose to serve again. And I've been committed to public service for most of my adult life. I then went in later years after I returned home from the Iraq War when there was a crisis at the VA. I stepped up to serve once again. And President Obama appointed me to serve on the leadership team of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and then asked me to also serve at the Pentagon. So I've been committed to public service. And I'm running now because I love our country. I've fought for our country. And the country that I love and have fought for, that people I served with gave their lives for, this is not what we're seeing right now in our country. I love it, and I'm not going to give up on it now. So I'm fighting for all of us here in New Hampshire, for our community, and simply because I want every single kid in New Hampshire and our country to have the same shot that I had, and a shot to get ahead by all the opportunities this country provides.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Looking back, what did you enjoy most about your time in the Marines?
Oh man, how much time do you have? Well, first, I could tell you that when I knew I wanted to join the Marines, I'd started as in the Navy ROTC Navy ROTC program rather. And your first summer in ROTC, you go to a program that exposes you to every one of the major communities in the Navy, and it's in Virginia. So all of the midshipmen from universities all around the country, go to this summer program, and you do a week of submarines, a week of naval aviation, a week of being on a Navy ship, and you do a week of Marines. And, everyone's about 18, 19 years old. It was the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And, joining ROTC was a really tough decision. I hadn't really been exposed firsthand, particularly to see a woman in the military. I'd never seen one before. But I'll tell you, joining the Marines within ROTC, that was the easiest decision I ever made. I was about an hour into Marine Week, and I just said, well, this is clearly where I belong. And what was it about it? It was the camaraderie and it was the work ethic. There was this Marine, Lance Corporal Smith, and he did what we call a hip pocket class on a weapon system. And we all had this philosophy that we need to always be working and training, because if not, our enemy is working and training harder than we are. And he was so excited to teach us how to use this weapon system. And then I got up on the obstacle course and everyone was cheering for me and so pumped and so enthusiastic. Everybody was so proud to be a Marine. And, you woke up at 4 a.m, you weren't in the rack, as we called it, till 23:30, about 11:30 at night, but you felt like you really did something with your day. And, and it was about something way bigger than any one of us individually. It was about our country. So I knew right away that that's where I wanted to be. It was the people in the Marines, that Lance Corporal Smith and all the Marines that I served with there, and all the ones I met since, what made it, the best decision I ever made.
That sounds fantastic. What a formative experience. It's related to your military experience, but in recent speeches, we've heard Hegseth tell active military, your diversity is not your strength, we don't fight with stupid rules of engagement, and you kill people and break things for a living. Being a veteran, I wonder if you could share your thoughts about how Hegseth and the current administration are leading the armed services, and also what role Congress plays in oversight.
Well, as you mentioned, I served on active duty in the Marines for a little over 5 years. Most of my experience was overseas. I served in Japan and throughout Southeast Asia for 2 years, forward deployed, exercising what we call strategic deterrence, something Pete Hegseth does not seem to put proper focus on, which is, build the most lethal military, go and build strategic relationships with our allies, train abroad with our allies, and you show our adversaries, here we are, this is what we're capable of, but you do that in the hopes that you never have to use it. You never have to use it. Pete Hegseth, in renaming the Department of Defense the Department of War, is putting the wrong emphasis on the department, and is implying by doing that the United States is seeking conflict. We are not, in fact, seeking conflict, and that's a misnomer. Look, the guy never should have been confirmed in the first place. He's not qualified for the office. That came up multiple times during his confirmation hearing. I was very disappointed to see the senators, including Joni Ernst, who was a sexual assault survivor, that actually voted to confirm him. He's a glorified talk show host, and we've seen multiple times that he just lacks the capability and lacks the competence when he's doing things like leaking classified material to lead the Department of Defense. And, the biggest thing I'm kind of worried about right now is he's just focused on all the wrong things. Number one, our diversity is our strength in the U.S. military. We want the brightest minds, the toughest warriors, the fiercest fighters in our United States Department of Defense. And I can tell you, when you're downrange in Fallujah, nobody's focused on anyone's gender. Nobody's focused on what someone looks like or who someone loves. People barely ask where you're from. They're focused on, are you competent? And are you going to care for, and are you going to have the back of the guy on your left and the gal on your right? The secretary needs to be focused on making us the most lethal, capable fighting force in the world. And he just seems to be taking his eye off the ball and focused on these other things, which actually aren't making us stronger. I am concerned about that. When we see the secretary leaking classified information on a signal chat, my first thought goes to the young men and women from here in New Hampshire who sign up to serve. I've had the privilege of meeting a number of them over the past 8 years. I was really proud that Congressman Chris Pappas appointed me to serve on his Service Academy board. So over the last 7 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing a lot of young men and women from throughout the 1st Congressional District who want to answer our nation's highest call to serve our country and go to West Point or the Naval Academy or the Air Force Academy or the Merchant Marine Academy. I think about them. I think about the kids who enlisted last year out of Central High School. I think about the ROTC cadets at UNH. Those are someone's kids. Those are someone's brother and sister. And those are the kids that he is endangering when he is reckless with information and when he is unqualified and incapable for the job. Now, what can Congress do about it? When Democrats are in the majority, I intend to serve on the House Armed Services Committee. It's the committee that oversees the Pentagon. The reason being is the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in our district and Pease Air Reserve Base in our district employ a lot of people in the 1st Congressional District, and we need to protect those two bases. Also, former Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter was able to get a lot of terrific work done on PFAS, something that has impacted Merrimack directly from her place on that committee. So what does that committee do? It holds Secretary Hegseth as well accountable. So if he's leaking classified information, if he's doing things that make our military less safe, I'll drag him down to Capitol Hill and we'll call a hearing and he can explain to the American people on C-SPAN for 2 days why he's unqualified and incapable at his job.
Fantastic. It's it's good to hear someone with firsthand knowledge and experience talk about the Department of Defense. So thank you. In a slightly different area, the country is very divided. How might you seek to bring Americans together across that divide?
It's so divided right now, and this isn't, this is not what any of us, I think, want for our country or for our kids. It's a huge reason I'm running. Is I look around and this isn't what I want to leave for my 3 kids. I'll tell you, I am hopeful though, and we're already starting to bring people together throughout our campaign. We have met veterans and military families from all around the district, and those bonds of service, transcend party lines. I was in Hampton just a few weeks ago at the 9/11 memorial, and this gentleman walked right up to me. He had a Marine Corps Eagle, Globe, and Anchor emblem on his collared shirt, and it said Afghanistan. And he walked right up, introduced himself. I had never met him before. And he said, "Maura, I'm a Republican." He said, "and I'm voting for you." And I said, "I really appreciate that, and thank you." And then we talked about, we kind of exchanged stories, his about, Afghanistan and mine about Iraq. And he was in Afghanistan at a really tough time. And I was really interested to learn more about, sort of tactically what they'd experienced. And then the ceremony was about to start. And just before it did, I turned to him and I said, "Sir, I'm really honored to have earned your support." By the way, he'd also said he wanted to host an event for us.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I said, "I'm really honored to have earned your support. Do you mind my asking, why you're voting for me?" And he said, "Oh, sure. That's simple. I trust you. I know your character. I understand your values. I understand what drives you to do this, that it comes from a deep place of loving this country and of public service. And I don't care about the letter next to your name. I know you're going to go down there and do what's right for New Hampshire and what's right for our country. And that's what I'm concerned with."
What a vote of confidence. That divisiveness is not only amongst Americans within the country, but we see it among our allies as well. So I wondered if you could speak to changes you'd like to see in our foreign policy.
Yeah. Well, I think first, with the news that came this morning, I think we can all just say what a magnificent day it is for freedom-loving people everywhere, that we have at least what looks like a glimpse of peace in the Middle East. It has been, such a horrendous situation for so many families, throughout the region. And, I'm hopeful. I know we're all cautiously optimistic to see, is Hamas really going to disarm? Like, will the peace hold? But, for freedom-loving people throughout the globe, it is a tremendous step forward in the right direction. So I know that we're all pleased to see that. We have a lot of work to do with our allies, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about this a bit. I served in the Obama administration for about 6 years, and I spent, a lot of time traveling all around our global community. As a commissioner on the American Battle Monuments Commission, where I was appointed by President Obama and served for 4 years, I traveled to a number of foreign countries throughout Europe, throughout Asia, representing the Obama administration, representing our country, meeting with foreign leaders, foreign dignitaries, at times representing the United States and giving speeches for Veterans Day and Memorial Day with our allies. A number of them are NATO allies on foreign soil. And so I know firsthand how incredibly important those NATO allies and those relationships are. Those have been tested over the past couple of years with this president. We have a lot of work to do in terms of allied reassurance, in terms of rebuilding trust, to make sure that our allies know that they can count on us, that we're going to have their backs when the going gets tough. I have vehemently supported ongoing aggressive support to Ukraine. We need to make sure that Ukraine has all the tools that it needs to be able to prevail, and to ensure that scourge of war does not encroach further into Europe. We have all seen what a war on the European continent looks like, and we do not want to go back to that point in time. So we need to fiercely stand up for Ukraine. And I look forward to serving on the Armed Services Committee. And again, with the extensive experience I have, both working for President Obama on the American Battle Monuments Commission and serving under President Obama as a senior Pentagon official, where I traveled, throughout the globe with the Secretary of Defense, as well as the Secretary of the Navy, doing allied reassurance tours. Same thing, meeting with allies, in tough conversations, looking at classified military briefings to understand different capabilities. I have the firsthand experience to be able to hit the ground running my first day in office and ask the tough questions and have the conversations that we're going to need to have with our allies to be able to, shore up some of the mistrust of the past few years.
Sure. I know a different topic here. I know for Merrimack residents and, in fact, just general New Hampshire residents across the state, cost of living is becoming more and more of a concern. Here, I know from school board meetings that property taxes are a big part of that concern. So how do you see the federal government maybe playing a role in some relief in the finances of families, seniors, and young people that are just starting out?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the chance to talk about this. I spent a lot of time in business myself, and I understand firsthand the challenges of, the small business owners I'm hearing in our state who these tariffs are crushing. I just did a small business tour of both Barrington and Laconia with 12 different small businesses. It was 12 different industries. I literally heard the same conversation 12 times, and it was the impact of these devastating tariffs on, not having the working capital, not being able to forecast supply chains the way that they would want to be able to, not being able to make key personnel hires as a result, and sometimes, living order to order. That's not a way to run a country, and we're a small business state. 97% of the businesses in New Hampshire are small businesses. Wow. And so, that is something that we need to bring, just economic security and stability to our small businesses. It's also not working. This economy, let me be very clear, does not work for working families. It just doesn't. And a big reason I'm running is that, as a kid from the middle class who went to public high school and got a scholarship to go to college, and then, worked 3 jobs in college, and then took out, fellowships, or got fellowships, but also took out loans to go to graduate school, and served in the military in between that, I want every kid to be able to have at least the equal shot that I did, to be able to get ahead. And it's just too hard right now. If you look at, the way the economy has reacted over the past 25 years, and the internet boom and the technology boom, the upper 2% of this country have captured a lot of that upside, but the middle class has not. Mm-hmm. We have a shrinking middle class. And as a national security expert, I can say to you that is the greatest threat to United States national security, is our shrinking middle class. In my lifetime alone, Jen, CEO pay has gone up 1,428%. 1,428%. Average worker pay, 18%. It doesn't take an MBA to say, that just doesn't work, right? No longer can a kid, wait tables at the Red Arrow Diner in Manchester, and as I did, waiting tables at a different restaurant, but waiting tables in college, and pay for a fraction of UNH, or work on a lobster boat and pay for a fraction of UNH. It just doesn't work. So the question is, okay, what are we going to do about it? I have a few thoughts. Number one, we need to protect and bring down the cost of healthcare. That is a huge expense per household. So we need to protect Medicare. We need to roll back these extreme actions in the big, beautiful bill and undo the cuts to Medicaid so that people who are on Medicaid can count on Medicaid, including our disability community here in New Hampshire. And then what that's also going to do is we need to make sure, and that we know that the government's shut down right now over the potential rise of health insurance premiums. We need to make sure that those premiums don't go up and that the federal government funds healthcare to a degree that people aren't seeing their premiums who do have health insurance go up 75%. That's just not sustainable for working families. Second, the federal government needs to play a much bigger role in education. Our state school needs to be subsidized by our federal government. Our state university should not be out of reach for any kid in New Hampshire, period. Some skin in the game, sure, but not these crushing and devastating loans that I hear about when I last visited UNH. Kids are working 2 to 3 jobs. They're still in debt. Their parents are in debt. That's not what this country's supposed to be about. We also need much better access and funding to subsidize or have free community colleges, and much better access to trade schools so that, different job pathways are available. We've got to do more to bring great companies and great industries here to New Hampshire, particularly right here in the Manchester Mill Yard, right down the street, and bring the biotech and defense tech and health tech, all industries that I've spent time in the private sector. leveraging our proximity to Boston. That's a great thing, and that will have a halo effect on our economy. We've got to do more to bring down energy prices. I was knocking Ward 6 in Manchester recently. You hear about energy prices, heating bills, left and right, left and right. Finally, we've got to protect Social Security, and we've got to protect veterans' benefits. These cuts that this administration has been making at the VA are impacting our Manchester VA right here. They're cutting mental health care from our VA. And I'll tell you, they will cut, this government, this administration will cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and veterans benefits over my dead body.
I can hear your passion. So we're going to lighten things up a little bit with
Good,
the lightning
good.
round to get to the really important things like ice cream, hard or soft serve.
Oh gosh, let's see. Well, as long as it's from the ice house on the seacoast, hard.
Okay. Do you have a favorite sport?
Basketball.
Okay.
Basketball, absolutely. I grew up playing basketball, shooting hoops in my backyard. My dad was my coach. A lot of what I learned about teamwork and leadership was playing basketball as a kid. Absolutely love the game. My son, my 4-year-old son, starting to play. He's got that little like plastic hoop in the back, and I love playing with him.
That's fantastic. Water. Would you go to the ocean or a lake?
Ooh. How can you ask a Granite Stater that question?
It's true.
Oh gosh. Well, I love water. I grew up water skiing, so I got to say, and I love taking my kids. They're just old enough now to start them kayaking on Lake Winnipesaukee, but we live on the seacoast, so I'm gonna have to go ocean. But that's a tough one.
Oh, it's a great one for Granite State, right?
That's we get both. We get both. Yeah.
Why choose?
Why choose?
Fruit, apples or oranges?
Apples, particularly from Applecrest Farm. It's another family favorite that we love to go to. We love to go to with our kids on
especially this time of year.
Especially, I think we've been like 5 or 6 times in the last 2 months.
And then pets, dogs or cats?
Well, let's see. I'm part of a group of women around the country. There's 4 female veterans running for Congress, all in very tough swing districts, and we call ourselves the Hellcats. It's after a group of women Marines from World War I. So if they were here, they would probably tell me to say cats, but my husband and children, if we get one, it's going to be a dog before a cat.
Okay, got it. So a little bit of both.
Yeah. Dog over cat, though.
Yeah. There are 6 candidates so far for this congressional seat. So bringing it back, it seems like each has a very unique perspective and background. So what would you like voters to know about your strengths and experiences, kind of in a closing?
Yeah, well, first, I think it's great so many people are running. I mean, with what is happening in our country right now, I'm surprised more people aren't running. It's a great time for people to stand up for democracy, and primaries make us stronger. I think, my candidacy differentiates along, 3 specific areas. 1, my deep background and commitment to service. 2nd is my track record and my experience. And 3rd, and I'll tell you about each of these, is that I'm putting together the team to win. And we can win a general election at a time when these are big shoes to fill with, our friend and Congressman Chris Pappas. And we're putting together the team to win. So, as I mentioned earlier, I come from a deep background of public service stemming from my family. I stepped up to serve in our country in the Marines. I then voluntarily re-upped in order to serve in the Iraq War with my battalion. I stepped up to serve once again when fellow veterans were in crisis in Phoenix, Arizona, and all throughout the country due to long wait times. And I answered the call when President Obama asked me to come and join his team at the VA and later at the Pentagon. I've been really proud to serve over the last 7 years on when Congressman Chris Pappas appointed me to his Service Academy nomination board here in our 1st District, as well as his Veterans Advisory Committee. And I've been really proud to serve our community here in New Hampshire and a local committee in my town. I've been involved with the New Hampshire Women's Foundation, have also been really involved with City Year. And I've been really proud to be of service to, our community here. And that, that deep commitment to service is something that is, unique to my candidacy, and I'm going to bring to Washington, going to work for all of the people of New Hampshire, regardless of political party, and put New Hampshire and put the country first. Second, I have an unparalleled record and experience in this race. I'm the only candidate in this race who has served at a senior level in an administration. I have served as a equivalent of a C-suite executive, if you will, a very senior leader at two of the largest agencies in our federal government, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the United States Department of Defense. I've been on the other side of members of Congress when they conduct congressional oversight for those agencies. I've been on the other side of that phone call when the committees that oversee the Pentagon and the VA called, conducting their oversight to say, what the heck is going on at that VA hospital? What the heck is going on with the Littoral Combat Ship Program? Those calls would blow up my day, my week, at times my month as a senior agency official. So I know how to hold this administration accountable on day one, and I'm unparalleled in the really tough fights that I have taken on at a time when we need fighters and we need proven leaders. I stood up as a Marine in Fallujah. I stood up to 4-star generals at the Pentagon. This administration doesn't scare me, and I know how to take them on. Third and finally, I'm building the team to win. This is these are big shoes to fill. This is a tough district. The Democratic Party is 5 seats down right now in the U.S. House of Representatives, which means Democrats, in order to take back the House in the midterms, need to hold 3 seats and need to flip 3 seats and hold the ones that we have. This is a critical hold. This is a seat that must be held. There are studies that have shown that veterans who are Democrats perform up to 6 points higher in these tough districts than non-veterans. In a district like New Hampshire won, that Kamala Harris won by 1 point, and that our governor, Kelly Ayotte, won by 11 points, a 6-point margin, that could be the difference between victory and defeat. And we're building the coalitions we need across party lines now. We're veterans from all across our state, from organizations like the VFW, from the American Legion, Iraq, Afghanistan veterans, Vietnam veterans, and everywhere in between are coming out in support of our campaign. We're also building a huge coalition of small business owners who see my background, my business experience in health tech and biotech, and know that I understand the challenges that small businesses face. And that coalition is going to help us win the 40% of this electorate that are independent voters, the 31% that are Republican, and the 29% that are Democrat. Finally, I've got more grassroots support than anyone else in this race. I've raised more resources than anyone else in this race. And what I'm most proud of in all the resources that we've raised is that more than 85% of my contributions are grassroots contributions of $100 or below. So we're really feeling that people-powered movement here throughout the state and also all around the country is people are looking for new leadership and a different kind of leadership. These are serious times. They require serious people. They require proven, tested leaders who are not going to back down from a fight, who come from a deep place of public service, and who are going to put the people first and who are going to put the country first. And that's what I stand for.
Thank you, Maura. This has been a short conversation, but how can viewers best follow your campaign as this continues?
Well, I appreciate you asking. So you can go to www.maura4nh.com. That's maura4nh.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Maura C. Sullivan. That's Maura C as in Charlie, Sullivan. And also on Twitter. And we hope you will join us there or reach out to our campaign to join us. We're doing house parties all around the district and would really appreciate the chance to meet you, to answer your questions, to engage and help join our team and be a part of something that's bigger than every single one of us, which is keeping this seat blue in the midterms and sending a different kind of leadership, a new leadership to Congress.
Thank you, Maura. Merrimack, that's our show for today. We'd like to hear your ideas for show topics, so reach out at talkmerrimack@gmail.com and follow us at Talk Merrimack on Facebook and Blue Sky. I look forward to our next conversation.